Okay, so this video is gold-plated text. So we're going to go up to we're creating a new canvas. So I already have the dimensions in here. So if you would, make sure that your width is 9 inches. Make sure your height is 7 inches. Make sure your resolution is 72 inches. You can use RGB and transparent and then create. Okay. Now from here, we're going to name this our background layer. Okay. So let's go ahead, double click in this background. And then we're going to fill it in with black. Before I have this out, and collapsed. This is my personal preference. So I'm going to make this black. Hitting the arrow, make the foreground black. Use the fill bucket and fill that in black. Okay. So I'm kind of reading off instructions here. I might be a little slow keeping up here in terms of keeping things at flow. You can always refer to the handout yourself should you get confused at any point. So we're going to make the word gold within this, and we're going to use the type tool, and we'll use Times New Roman. Bold is fine. Not sure about the font yet, but we do want to make this white. So let's change this to white, and let's come over and type in. Now I'm going to do this in all caps. So I lock my caps. So gold. Now once you're done with that, go up here, hit the little check, and then we're going to Control T to make this bigger. Now I would like this to be constrained, so I do want this highlighted so that when I go to stretch this, it will hold its dimensions. It won't skew it or distort it. Acting a little slow here. Okay, kind of center that up a little bit. All right, hit enter, and we've got that. Okay. Now we have that, we're going to duplicate this layer. Okay. So you can use your right click on your mouse and go to duplicate layer. Okay, so now we got a copy. So let's actually rename these because this is eventually going to be your stroke. Okay, and so let's just rename this gold. Well, I don't know if it'll let us have two of the same. Yep, it will. So we're going to rename this gold and add stroke to it. Okay, you'll see what I mean. We're going to put a stroke around this at some point later. Okay. All right. So we're going to spend a lot of time in our layer styles, but you can get to that in two different ways. Move this out of the way. Oops, screen recording. So down here is your layer styles button. Okay. So let's click on that, and we can bring up blending options. So if you recall, we could also get to that through this way. We get to our layer style and blending options. You got one of those two ways of getting to the same screen. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come down to gradient overlay. Okay. Click on gradient overlay, and this is what's going to pop up. You can already see it's starting to show some of the things that we're adding to this layer. So we're in this window, and what you're going to do is, didn't mean to do that. We're going to go into the center of this gradient right here and click on that, and that's going to pop this up. Okay. So what you're going to do from here is we're going to do this repeatedly several times so you'll get into the groove eventually. But this little marker here, we're going to click on that and select it. It's called a color stop. And we're going to come down here and click in color. It just says change color of selected stop. So we're going to change that color by selecting that. And now our color picker comes up. Now we're going to put certain numbers over here in the RGB. Okay, and I'm going to read those off and put those in. So the numbers we're going to put in is 247 for the RGB. For the R. I'm going to hit the tab button. That'll take me down to the G. I'm going to put in 238. I'm going to click tab again. I'm going to put 173. Now that I've done with that, I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to come over here to the other color stop. Click on that. Come here and click on color. And then I'm going to change the RGB here. And this is going to be 193, 172, and 81. And I'm going to click OK. All right. Now that I have that, I'm going to click OK on this. And then I want to come down and I want to make sure I want to change my style from linear to reflected. And so what that did here, it made it kind of dark at the top, light in the middle, and dark at the bottom. So that's sort of our little thumbnail there. I do believe that is it for this portion. So if I move this out of the way, look at what it's done to our text. It's created sort of the same thing as this thumbnail. It's kind of dark at the top, light in the middle, dark at the bottom. I'm going to click OK on that. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Okay. All right, so we've done that layer effect to this top layer. Now we're going to do several more things. We're going to go, this time, let's just go to layer styles down this way. And we're going to go to bevel and emboss. So that brings up this screen. And from bevel and emboss, we're going to do quite a few things. Again, this is our thumbnail. It's going to show what we're doing over here by what we change over here. So let's make sure one thing that our I believe our stroke, we need to change this to inner bevel. Okay. We need to make sure that the technique is on chisel hard. Let's see here. And so now, one second here. Just don't want to lose anything in my instructions. We do want to come down and make sure the gloss contour here, and click on this little arrow, then we have this right here. Now mine already has that because I've been doing this, I've been practicing it. So you might have this, right? And you're going to want to change it to this. This is called the, I think called the double ring. Yep, ring double. Okay. So now we have the, so we do want to select the anti-alias. Okay, we do want to select that. Now the structure, we'll go back up to structure and we'll go to structure size. We want to skew this over and you're going to notice that's going to close in to the point that there's no inner space. So if we move this out of the way, look at what it does to our text. So if I have this all the way over like this, right? Then I start to pull this in. You start to see that kind of taper until you just come up with this big ridge right there. Okay, that's what we want. All right. Next, the depth. We do want to adjust the depth here. It is suggested that we do 171%. So let's see what that does. Well, we could kind of keep playing with it until we find something we really like. So seems to get more and more gold looking the further and further we take it. Oh, what the heck, why not? The instructions say to do 171%, but that looks more golden to me than at 171%. That looks like pale to me. So that looks pretty reflective and pretty good there. Okay, we'll go with that. I like that. Let's see. This is where I'm going to get kind of lost. Okay, so let's go over to contour. All right, so we got contour. Let's see. It says next, click inside the checkbox. Look for contour. Let's go back to bevel and emboss here. Just checking back over things here real quick. Look at the instructions. Flip the page. Okay, contour is good. Okay, so one last thing. Inner glow. We'll come down to inner glow. And we're going to select that and click on it. So it brings up this screen. Okay. So from inner glow, we're going to change the blend mode to multiply. So we got the blend mode right here. I'm going to change this to multiply. Okay. Then we're going to make the opacity 50%. I know there's a lot of things we're doing here. Just keep up. Okay. I'm trying my best as well. Click on the color swatch directly below noise, which is right here. And we got the color picker back up, and we're going to put in another series of numbers into the RGB. Okay, and I'm going to read those off and put those in. 232 tab, 128 tab, 31, and that's our RGB, and click OK. All right, so now we're going to exit out of the color picker. Just did that. Finally, increase the glow size to 15. So I'm looking for size. There's size right here. If that's what they're referring to, yes, it is. So we want to make sure that that is 15. Okay. I think that's it. Let me flip the page here. Okay. So we're going to click OK and get out of that. So that all that work we did gave us a very golden effect to our text. Okay. So we're going to add a stroke to the original layer. So we need to come down and now select our gold stroke layer, right? And then we're going to go back into layer style. And then we're going to go to stroke right there. All right, so notice it gives us a stroke around our gold text, right? So from here, there's going to be a series of things we're going to do. First of all, it wants us to have the sizes 5. We're going to come down, make sure the style is reflected. Okay. Fill, then change the fill type to gradient. Okay, make sure it's not on color, make sure this is on gradient. Okay, make sure that's on 5. Got the fill gradient, got this as reflected. Okay, so now we got to start setting our colors as the same. Okay, so I'm going to click on the center of this, edit the gradient, and we're going to go in and put a series of numbers, although it looks like mine might be there already. Let's see, set the colors for the gradient, the same colors we use on the text. From the far left, we're going to go into this. I'm going to make sure that this is 247, 238, and 173. Mine are already there. It might be because I've already completed this lesson once before and it's still there. If your numbers are different, make sure you got 247, 238, 173. Okay. Come over to this marker, click on it, select it, click on the color here. Then same thing here. Make sure your numbers are 193, 172, and 81. Okay, click OK. We're going to click OK out of that. So now that we have this completed, we're going to go over to the bevel and emboss. So we're going to click on the word and bring this up. Okay. Let's see here. So for this, let's see. For structure, let's make sure style is stroke emboss. Okay, and that's what that did over here. Technique, we'll make sure it is chisel hard. Okay. Our depth, I'm going to bring this down a bit. I'm not really sure what that's going to do so much. Let's see here. Okay, really high. Not so sure that's working so well. So let's bring that down here. Okay, that seems to be working a little bit better. It's kind of like how it's kind of changing from the text itself. So I'm doing about 105. That's my depth on this. Let's see. We'll make sure the direction is up. Size. Now let's play with size a little bit. Go up on size. I don't know if it's just being delayed or if it's really going to do anything. It's like that made a little bit of effect there. Okay, 24 looks pretty good. I'm really looking over here in terms of how that looks. Let's see. Softening can be on 0. Everything here looks good. I wonder if we could change the angle a little bit. So I just changed my angle to 120 from 90. So that's 90. I don't know. That looks okay. Kind of looking at some instructions I've done once before and kind of trying it out. So 30. Now here we do also want to make sure we are on this in case you might have something like that. You can see how that looks over here versus how it looks with that. And that kind of looks better. So that looks more golden. Opacity 75%. Highlight mode screen. Shadow mode multiply. Just make sure you have every your settings just like mine here, okay? And I do have the opacity at 75%. Let's see what happens if I bring that down. Looks better dialed up, doesn't it? Kind of like it like that. 100% looks pretty good. All right, so let me check my other instructions here, make sure we got everything. That's how it needs to be. And I do believe, okay, so now we're going to do an outer glow. So come down to outer glow and click on outer glow. All right, so you can already see we're starting to get an outer glow over there, and I think it's because my settings are already set to the way they're supposed to be. So let's just read over what those settings are so that you have the same thing. Make sure your opacity is at 50%. Make sure your blend mode is on screen. So if I change my opacity, you can really see how that kind of makes it more opaque versus it just sort of disappears. So as I bring up the opacity, so about 50% is good, maybe a little more. Yeah, I think that gives it a good glow quality. Noise is all the way down. If I had noise up, you can kind of see it kind of breaks it all up. We don't want that. So we got the noise all the way down. So we do want to make sure we have the right color. So we're going to click on this again. Now, again, my numbers are already set. You just need to make sure yours are set to the same numbers as the R, which is 183, G 145, the B is 79. Okay. Now the size is set to 29 right here. If I went out further, you can see how it just sort of disperses it. It's too much. Let's bring it back down. So it's a little not enough. And it might be a little too much. Maybe a little more. That looks pretty good. Okay. I believe that is it. We click OK and look at the results. Gold, 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 gold text, right? Now, this is the final thing. We're going to make a new layer. Actually, we want it on the top. Let's put that up here. Now, this is going to be the sort of a highlight kind of thing. We're going to call it sparkles. We'll put sparkles on this. So, got a new layer, we got sparkles. Now, this is where a lot of students struggled the other day with just the instructions themselves. We got to select a certain brush. Okay, if we come up and click on our brush tool, right? Now, notice I already have that brush here, right? But let me show you how you're going to get to that brush, that kind of little crosshair type brush, kind of like an X. So if you click on this downward arrow, right? Now, if you come over, so if I come up, I will scroll up like this, you can kind of see I'm in assorted brushes, and it's under legacy brushes, right? So what you're going to see is something collapse like this. But first of all, you need to make sure you come over and click and make sure you've loaded your legacy. It says restore legacy brushes set to the list of brush presets. Okay. So what I'm going to do is click here, and you should see, well, I just actually created a second one, but you click this downward arrow. Now, I know a lot of you, like I often tell you, like, look, often when you open this window, like, you got like something very collapsed, very condensed. So just take and pull that out and drag it out so you can kind of really see this. So downward arrow, come down to assorted brushes, downward arrow, scroll down, and you're going to come to crosshatch, and that is the name of the brush. Okay, so we got crosshatch, and that's what this is. Okay, so I'm going to just click up here, get rid of that box. So here's my brush. I want to increase the size. I'm going to use the brackets above the enter button and increase that and decrease, right? So we might play with some of the opacity and such as we do this. So I'm just going to, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the color picker and let's zoom in and select something that is very pale and light of a color of the gold, which I think is right here. Not necessarily pure white, but off-white maybe, okay? So now I'm going to zoom back out and select my brush again. And I'm going to come in and find somewhere along the edge and put a little sparkle. Okay, and that's kind of big. Might be a little much. Let me bring the opacity down. Make it a little smaller. Subtle. That works. So make something a little smaller, variety. Whenever you do something where you always keep something the same size, just doesn't look quite natural. I don't know if I like it at the tip right there. Let's try right here. Yeah, that feels a little better. Now I can bring the opacity up just a touch. Go bigger over here. Yeah, looks all right. Looks pretty good. I'll put one over here. So everything's got some kind of sparkle on it right now at this point. And I'll put another one right here. Yeah, looks pretty good. It's kind of on the same level as that one, but now I'll go smaller and see if that looks better. Just trying to create variety here. Anywhere else? So this is where you're just kind of adding your artistic touch. So you can go over sparkle. I think I just over sparkled. So that feels pretty good. And you have now completed this lesson. Okay. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to have to complete this lesson again using your own text. Okay. You could potentially change the color so it's not gold, but you're going to end up with sort of this very reflected, very chiseled, very reflective kind of look. So you'll just need to turn this in, make sure and get it saved as a Photoshop file, also as a JPEG file to turn in. Okay, that's it.